The U.S. Department of Agriculture recently released the data from the 2022 Census of Agriculture. There are some interesting numbers from within it. For example, on the U.S. side of things, the U.S. lost more than 140,000 farms between 2017 and 2022. With over 6 million data points, there's a lot of information to share. I sat down with the regional director for the National Agricultural Statistics Service to learn about the current state of the Nebraska ag industry. We have data from the 2022 Census of Agriculture, and today we're going to break that down with Nick Streff. He's the Regional Director for the U.S. Department of Agriculture National Agricultural Statistics Service, focusing on the state of Nebraska. Nick, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Well, as we look at the data, of course, there's the national things, but we want to zero in and share with our viewers and our listeners today what's happening when it comes to the Nebraska ag landscape. As you look at all the data available, what are some of the biggest things that come to mind for 2022?
Well, the great thing about the census is when we get the data points on age of farmer, size of farm, all those other pieces. During the regular years, NASS has the production data, but this is a chance we can get the demographics and we can really get that detailed farm data. So something to look at would be, age of producer. We're sitting at 56.9 years for Nebraska, which is up from 56.4. So just kind of those data points so we can show, what our farmers and ranchers are looking like.
I think it always surprises people to see the average size of a farm in Nebraska. It's shy of 1,000 acres, correct?
Correct, yeah. Our average farm size from the 2022 census data would be 989 acres, which is up a little bit.
As you look at the counties, I think there's a few counties in particular you pull out. For example, Lancaster County has the most farms, correct?
Correct, yep. They're our top 10, the number one for a number of producers. Yep.
Okay, and up in northeast Nebraska, Cumming County has a title of itself.
Yeah, for Cumming County, they have the largest value of agricultural production sales.
Okay. So you break down this data, you've been poring over it for months. You mentioned the age of a Nebraska producer, the size of the farm. What else stuck out to you this time around?
Well, I think it's neat to note in Nebraska the mix between crop sales and livestock sales. So when we're looking at that for Nebraska, livestock sales make up 52% of the total value of sales and crops at 48%. So a really good kind of mix there, kind of a level playing field for the most part. So just showing that Nebraska producers, are big in livestock and crops.
I think back in 2017, there was an emphasis put on making sure you count all folks involved in the farm, particularly women, and that stat was shared in 2017. Of course, you measure that again here in 2022. What's that number look like for Nebraska?
So for Nebraska, yes, for our female producers, we're at just over 26,000. They make up over 33% of all producers, and that is a number we started focusing on in 2017, and we didn't change the question for this time around.
It's useful for people who sit in chairs here on my side of the desk, Nick, to be able to compare things year to year, I suppose every 5 years where the census comes out. As you looked at trends in the Nebraska ag industry, anything in particular fascinate you, whether it's the size of the farm or something like that?
For some things that I like to look at is especially some of the broadband initiatives that Nebraska has. So the census will provide county level data on internet connections. So 83% of Nebraska farms and ranches have internet access, and we actually break it down by type of internet access. We don't show speed, but we do show type because we do know producers need access to that type of system.
How do people use this data?
Well, when it comes to that, there are the interesting stats, But then when it comes to writing the farm bill programs, or when it comes to disaster assistance, how many farms are in these counties that could have been affected by that tornado, or how many cattle are out there if you're looking at a disease outbreak? The census is the best place to come for that data, so the legislatures, so policymakers can make programs that can assist farmers and ranchers.
There's always the appeal when the census is out. Hey, this is why it's important you fill it out. As we talk about that, how many people respond to the Nebraska Census of Ag, and how has that number fluctuated over the years?
Well, generally in survey work, it goes up and down. Our shorter surveys, we get a great response rate on. Some of our crop production surveys, we're up over 70%. For the census, it's a longer survey, so we were up in that 58% range for response rate, just under the national response rate.
Okay. Anything else on the Census of Ag you want to point out today, Nick?
Well, just one thing I want to point out is thanks to the farmers and ranchers that took the time to complete this data. It's a great data set. It's something we're going to rely on for the next 5 years. And then after that, we just kind of want to, look at some of the other NASS programs that are coming up.